All right, so let's move on from friendships and let's get into something that I feel like all little girls, all women, we can all relate to on this: boys and insecurities. Because that came, I think, in episode 3 to episode 4, as you started talking about just you growing up and what that looks like. So tell us a little bit about what do you think you were really searching for in those early relationships?
Wow.
Love, validation, escape. Like, what do you think?
Um, I would definitely say a bit of love and escape, because of all the problems I was going through at home, um, even not having the best relationship with my dad. It was okay, but I think I was just, as people say, looking for love in all the wrong places, and escape because I felt like in those moments I was happy, or at least that's what it felt like. It was basically like a false happiness for me to just be like, okay, if I'm in this moment, then I don't have to worry about anything else around me.
Yeah, I think we can all relate to that, like looking for validation in these young men. I feel like it's instilled in us too as women growing up, like you have to compete with the next woman to feel worthy or to get the attention of certain, men. So I think everybody can literally relate to that. Um, what would you tell, I guess, you have a daughter. She's not a teenager anymore, but but she just came out of that season of her life. And what is something that you would tell her and or even, your youngest daughter about that season of their lives in terms of like relationships with boys and what's something that you took from your season that you would share with them?
I would definitely have to say, that they need to find themselves, before they go looking for love. Obviously, I don't want my girls to experience anything that I've have had to ever experience with boys or men, but um, I can't control everything that they go through. But I would definitely tell them, like, to find yourself, love yourself before you try to go and find another person to love. And that, let them chase you. Let them come to you. Don't go out here chasing these boys or men, you know just as you said, looking for validation from them, or just worrying about the next boy or the next relationship or whatever. Just stay focused, and when the time is right, those relationships will come. I mean, obviously, I want to tell them to wait until marriage before they do anything or anything like that. But I mean, as far as having a boyfriend, I know that they're going to go through school, they're going to see things, they're going to have friends, and I mean, these days it has tremendously changed from the way things were when we were growing up. A lot of the innocence is going a little bit sooner. So I would definitely, just tell them, hey, just wait.
I know you mentioned that you always were like a good reader of people and you could always tell, if they were real, if they were fake and all those things. Did that apply to the boys in your life too? Or do you feel like you were a little more like naive about about that? I'm curious if you feel like that
I mean, I feel
transition.
like even if it applied, I just basically pulled the wool over my own eyes, because I wanted to feel, because I wanted to, you know, felt like I had somebody. So even if I seen the red flags, I seen the signs, it didn't matter because, you know, as good of a reader of people that I was and that I still am, that I guess I kind of separated what I call love versus like, oh, this is real, this is fake, because I'm like, oh, if they have any interest in me, it must be real. So
Yeah. Is so what would you say like love was back then versus what you know it to be now? And how far off were you as a,
Wow.
as a teenager? Because you know, when we were teenagers, I feel like we just thought that we were right about everything. Like we couldn't, you know, our parents and the people in our lives would tell us like, "Oh, you don't know nothing yet. You just," and we would just ignore them like crazy. So I'm curious, like, how has the definition of love to you changed, if it changed at all, when you compare your teenage years to now?
Wow. Wow. I would have to say that love back then wasn't really love. Um, I feel like it was like lust disguised as love. Because people who love you wouldn't do some of the things to you or that you know that I've experienced. So compared to now, I definitely know what love is. I mean, I still have went through things as an adult as far as love. I still have still go through things now, even being married. But I would say love is definitely different. It looks different because you know the love that I experience now is like it's definitely more, you know, unconditional. Doesn't look at all the things, you know, my outward appearance. It doesn't look at all the flaws that I just have inside, you know, and the things that, you know, I've been through or whatever. It's just new every day. You know, it's just love is completely different. It's like I said, it just doesn't even feel real sometimes because what I experienced, it makes me wonder if I ever really experienced love before now.
That's really deep. It's very deep. Yeah, that's deep. I had to take a second and pause on it because it's so true. I think we all could look back and think that we were like in this loving relationship, and then you get older and you reflect and you be like, wow, like that really was not what I expected it to be at all. Like it's not like there's so many surprises and so many things that, you know, you learn as you get older. And I feel like this is what our parents and other grown-up people would try to tell us, like, that's not it. Like you're gonna find better, like there's gonna be something, like it's not the end of the world, you know, all those things. Yeah, deep. So tell me a little bit and tell us a little bit about, you know, intimacy for you back then. And I know you shared in the episodes that there were certain things that you wouldn't do up until a certain point. But and you don't have to get too deep into it. Like we're not trying to get like, you know, super duper deep into all of that. But I'm curious like how you viewed intimacy back then. And do you think that the relationships of your family members and people you've seen in relationships, do you think that impacted the way that you viewed intimacy or love or anything with men?
Wow, that's a really sort of deep question there. But I guess the way I view intimacy in the past, and I know some people look at intimacy as just
not just the act,
just
the you know act, the whole,
but it's really just, you know, all of the things. But honestly, I just looked at it as like, in the eyes of, as crazy as it sounds, in the eyes of the boy or the guy, like it was a requirement to be with them.
Okay.
Like it was like if I didn't do this, then you won't be happy. You won't want me. It was like more transactional.
Okay.
That's how I felt inside anyway. Even if I never spoke it out, I just felt like if you want to be with this person, if you want to keep this person, then that's what needs to happen. Because I mean, you know, sometimes you felt the pressure. You talk to friends or people around you. You hear people talk in the hallways in school or whatever, and you hear things, and you're like, wow, you've already done that, or you did this, and you just put yourself in this group with other individuals. And you know, up to now, it's like I said, I mean, intimacy and a godly marriage is completely different anyway. But I just feel like it's definitely 100% different. I mean, you know, I still think now just giving y'all a little insight and being really transparent, it's still hard for me in that area because of some of the things that I've been through in the past. And as far as, I know you mentioned family and
Yeah.
what I've seen around me, I don't really think that impacted me too much.
Okay.
Because I was and still am an introvert, so I closed myself off from other individuals. But I will say that seeing other people around me and the relationships that they were in when I was hurting or in pain or intimacy was a struggle for me, even in adulthood or in the past, it would just even make me want to be like, oh, well, how come they can have that? Even if they were adults, like, how come they can have that? But who knew what they were really going through?
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Well, we are going to jump into episode 4 and getting a little into you becoming a teen mom and unpacking that, pregnancy secrets, the whole nine, in a second. All right, so let's jump into a major turning point in your life, which was around episode 4, where you opened up about getting pregnant and hiding the truth and just trying to figure out a plan for your life. What was the hardest part about finding out that you were pregnant?
Wow, I mean, honestly, just all of it. But if I had to pinpoint a specific thing, I just think in my mind that I just knew that I wasn't ready. Like, how was I going to be this young lady, still a teenager, had nothing really to me going for myself? How was I going to raise another human being? How is my family going to take it? How are people going to look at me now? So that's, that was a hard time.
Yeah, and I know you shared in the episode that you didn't, I think you kept it to yourself. You didn't tell anyone when you first found out that you were pregnant, right? Or am I?
No, you're on the right track. So when I first found out I was pregnant, honestly, I had a sense. I didn't even take a test. Like, I'm one that doesn't really get sick in that way, like feeling queasy or anything. And I got sick, and I just knew something wasn't right.
Yeah.
But I was too afraid, too naive to say, hey, I might be pregnant. I felt like deep down in my heart, I just knew, but I didn't tell anybody for months.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. Because you held that to yourself for a while, what did silence cost you in that season of your life?
I mean, honestly, it cost me support. I mean, I know some of my family was very upset with me because of the timing that I chose to have a child, but I felt like regardless, my mom or my aunt or whoever would have been there for me regardless of when I got pregnant. I think it also cost me, maybe, or it could have cost me some of the health of my child because I wasn't going to the doctors, but thankfully she was fine.
Yeah.
But honestly, just the main thing I would definitely say is support, because I just felt so alone in those times, just trying to, wear bigger clothes or just, being super hungry or not feeling well. And I had to go through all that alone because I made that choice.
Yeah. Did you have anyone in your life that you did want to immediately tell, but fear or anxiety or any of those things sort of stopped you from doing that?
I would definitely say I probably wanted to immediately tell my grandma.
Okay.
We were very close. We've always been close. She lived there with us once I moved in with my aunt, and she was downstairs already living there. And she was always been a big supporter of me regardless. So I know that she would have been upset with me, but she could relate. I mean, she had children. I mean, back in the day it was different. People had children at 15 years old, but still she had children really young, and she had a number of children really young. So I think that she could have helped me soften the blow to telling my other family members, my mom or my dad or whoever I needed to tell. But honestly, I was just too ashamed.
Yeah. Ashamed. well, not ashamed, but shame in general is such like a powerful um, feeling that it can just, it stops. I feel like it really does stop vulnerability and intimacy and all of those things because we are so afraid of what, people seeing the real us or seeing our flaws or seeing all of those things. So it's such a like huge emotion to carry. And like, especially at a young age, being a teen mom, like I'm sure that it felt like the weight was on your shoulders, carrying all the shame. And since you didn't share with anyone early on, or even, I mean, up until like the midpoint of your pregnancy, did you feel like you were living two different lives? One that people could see, one that people couldn't? Or do you feel like you just sort of dissociated all together?
Honestly, I just feel like I definitely dissociated. Like I just went into another place. I just felt like I was just going through the motions. Like I was just like, hey, one day people will find out. One day, it'll all be over with. She'll be here. So I didn't even try to live in like two separate worlds or anything. I just was just kind of looking ahead at the time where I knew it had to end at some point.
Um, Obviously being a teen mom comes with so much, right? Like you're still growing up yourself and, not really sure what your own life is going to look like. And then you're worrying about a child. And at the time, you also just didn't feel like you had emotional intimacy with your family and friends and all of those things. So I know that there was a lot to carry. If there was one thing that you could have either told yourself or have done differently as you were, carrying, what would that be?
Honestly, it would probably be to plan, because I felt like because I was having a baby that I knew that I would have support once they knew. I knew that I would have a place to live. I knew that people wouldn't be hard on me because I was having a child. But that was so far from the truth because at the end of the day, once I had her, I was 18 years old. And, as you know, most people look at that as immediate adulthood.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, I don't have to let you do anything. I'm just doing it because I love you. But I just felt like I wish I would have just planned my life out a little bit better around that time. Hey, what are we going to do long term? How is finances going to look long term? What is the plan? And I just kind of just went about it being like, honestly, a little bit naive and honestly a little bit, some of being ungrateful, some of being like just in a place where I just thought that I was just untouchable because, hey, I was a teenager, I had nothing, and I had this baby, and she was going to protect me from whatever it was that I was going to go through at that time, but I was so wrong.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. Can you dig a little bit into that? Like, what did you think that she was going to protect you from, or where is that coming from, or what did that look like in your mind?
I mean, I just automatically thought that I would have, for one, financial support because, when you have a child, people throw baby showers, they buy you things in the beginning.
Okay.
But after that, it's like, you need to figure it out. And I thought because, I had I still had a loving family. They were still there for me. And I was still living with my aunt at the time. I just thought that I would just have all the support. Hey, what do you need? What does the baby need? But at the end of the day, I was being taught a hard lesson that even though they were there for me, it wasn't their child to raise. So, and just assuming that I would always have somewhere to live because people would look at me and say, it's no way she could be, on the streets. There's no way she could just be out of opportunities or places to live because she has a small child. But I mean, if you look at the world today, it's so many people out here who are struggling.
Yeah.
They have young children, they are pregnant, some are both, and they have nothing. They have no money, they have nowhere to live. So I just think that, just being ungrateful didn't get me very far.
It usually doesn't. But I think it takes a level of maturity to come to the conclusion that, you were, you were feeling ungrateful at that time, or that did sort of shape a little bit the way you chose to go about your pregnancy. And I think when you can acknowledge those emotions and own them, that you can really start to heal from them. So it's good to hear you talk a little bit about that. I know you shared with us too that there was some help that you were offered, right, through an aunt of yours. And I wanted to ask you, what do you think it was that made you say no to that help? And how do you feel knowing all that you know now, when you had to, sort of unpack that episode? Like, how did it make you feel knowing that that was there and you didn't decide to move forward with it?
Honestly, for a while, I felt regret, because when I sit back and think about it, and looking at her family now, I'm like, wow, she does done such a beautiful job raising her children, and I know at the time, she only had one child, and she was going to basically accept me and my daughter, just as I was one of her own children, and just help me. I feel like, it makes me look like I could have been further in life. Maybe I would have already had a degree and had this career that, I've always wanted, without my child, being a reason why. And I'm not saying that, she was a mistake or anything like that. I'm just saying, when you have a child, you chose differently. So now you have to walk differently in the path that you are going to go. You can't just say, hey, I don't care, I'm still going to go to a 4-year university. It's just not that simple anymore. And I'm still going to do this, and I'm not saying people have done it, but it just makes life a lot more difficult. And I just look back, and sometimes I'm like, I just try to say why. And when I look back and ask myself why, it's because I felt like I still needed to be here, to be involved, and just like I was going to miss something, like this is my life, like, and I kind of was punishing myself, like, hey, I chose to have this child. I'm not going to let anybody else step in and just give me that freeing moment where she's like, hey, I'm going to support you, I'm going to help you. And it's like, hey, what's going to happen as you leave? Is your family going to miss you? Is your daughter's dad going to be like freaking out because you're trying to take her to it? At this point, it was another state,
Yeah.
But, at the end of the day, it probably would have been a great choice. But, looking back, I honestly don't know 100% why I didn't do it.
Yeah. You saying that you were punishing yourself is deep. And, I know that we all have a tendency to do that, especially when we know we did something wrong or we've disappointed ourselves and all of that. So that's super interesting that you said that. And I'm curious if this story reaches a young woman who was in the same place as you. Maybe she's a teen mom, or she's a very young and getting ready to be a mother, and sort of in that same place, right? Scared, hiding, like not ready to really ask for help. What do you want her to feel when she listens to you or to this interview? What do you want her to feel, and what would you say to her?
I would definitely say I would want her to feel like she's not alone, and to just use the support and resources that she has. And even though it feels easier to hide and to be scared, or sometimes the truth is easier. Most times the truth is easier, because when we try to hide and withhold or lie, it makes things harder on us, and we have to carry that with us every day, instead of just letting the truth set us free.
Since we're talking about secrecy and hiding things and all of that, because you had such a big season of your life where you were hiding a lot of what you were going through, do you think it's easier for you to see your children do the same thing? Like, is it easy for you to pick up on when they might be sort of retrieving or not sharing or hiding things? Or do you think it's still just like a hard thing all around, because kids are kids and you never know?
I would say for my teenage daughter, honestly, it's hard for me to pick up on if she's telling me the truth sometimes, if she's hiding something from me, because um, she's probably gotten good at it. Just kidding. But, it's hard for me with her. I think based on just our relationship, it has gotten better over the years, but we've been through a rough patch. So I think sometimes it's hard for me to tell if she's fully being honest with me, if she's telling the truth. And I think it's just also with her being a teenager in general. Like, she's almost to that point of being past a teenager into adulthood.
Yeah.
So, maybe it doesn't look like hiding to her. It's just like privacy and not secrecy. For my other little ones, I feel like definitely with my son, I can tell when he's keeping something from me, just their moods and just how they usually are. I try my best to pick up on that. And I let my children know, all of them, hey, listen, just tell me. You can tell me. And I always tell, just tell me the truth.
Yeah.
I'm here for you. And I try to reassure them that, I don't want my kids to be those children who feel like we can't tell mom anything because she's going to get mad. And I mean, that's just a natural flow of children. They're going to think, hey, I did something wrong. It equals if I tell on myself, I'm in trouble. But I always wanted that relationship with my parents to say, hey, look, this is what I'm going through. I need help me.
Yeah.
And, but I made that choice not to have that relationship. I can't, blame anyone else because I didn't want to open up. But, opening up sometimes is easier said than done.
Yeah. We're going to jump into sort of like staying with family, growing up too quickly. Obviously, now you are pregnant, getting ready to have your daughter, and then you move into what those first like couple of months to a year, I guess, looks like with her early on. So we'll jump into that shortly.